Okay, we're good to go. All right, I will call the regular council meeting Tuesday, April 21st to order. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is rich. Hastings County is situated on treaty land. Okay. It is rich in indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. I will move that the agenda of the regular council meeting held on April 21st be adopted as presented. Seconder.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you for showing up. Does anyone have a disclosure of interest? All right, we have a deputation tonight of Jessica and Nathan Rogers regarding the market in the village. You're up, Jess.
All right, so first of all, thank you, Mayor and Council and staff for seeing our deputation this evening. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'm just going to get right into it. If I speak too quickly, that's why we did a little thing to follow along with. I just want to make sure I get all in the 10 minutes. So for the 7th year in a row, we're requesting to use the Covered Bridge parking lot at 26 East Front Street to host the weekly farmers market on Fridays from June 26, October 2nd, 2026. Closing the parking lot from 3 to 8 p.m. for the market running 4 to 7 p.m. We also request end use of water in the parking lot area for the public hand wash station. As we have previously, we will continue to work with township staff and public health to follow all protocols in place at any given time. We will obtain commercial general liability insurance for each market date and provide proof as required. We will continue to reinforce the market's mission of connecting the community to the area's local growers, producers, and makers in the 2026 season. For this season, we are under the impression that only the special event policy permit application would need to be completed. As directed, we submitted the form on March 9th and received a reply on March 11th. Receive with thanks, Jessica. I've circulated the special event permit application submission to staff and will provide an update upon receipt. As no update was provided, a follow-up was sent on April 8th with still no response at the time of this delegation was submitted. In previous years, we have always received updates along the way and usually had confirmation within 2 to 3 weeks. While we can understand the policy is new and procedures are unfamiliar, this response time is unacceptable for event organizers and has hindered our progress in preparing for market. It has not been necessary for us to bring a delegation to council for the weekly farmers market since the market's inception in 2020, but as the directed avenues have not provided approval, we didn't see any other choice. As volunteers, it is discouraging and time-consuming to run into these unnecessary delays and roadblocks. Therefore, we suggest that the special event permit applicants receive a date they will hear by and or more clarity on the processing time. So this policy was brought in very quickly and it appears there was very little to no workflow to support it. After 5 weeks of waiting, it wasn't until we sent through a deputation request that we finally heard back, which is the reaction we were expecting. The response was, I'm still awaiting feedback from staff. However, we'll provide an update as soon as possible in an effort to expedite the processing of the submitted special event permit application. We were expected to have our submission in at least 2 months prior, and after 5 weeks, including a reminder, it appears nothing had been done. 6 weeks in, and here we are. As stated already, in all previous years, we had a request passed along to the next available protection to person and property committee, and then on to council for final approval. It would all be wrapped up in 2 to 3 weeks with clear communication from the clerk at each step and after completion, all without the need to attend in person because the market has been a staple in our community for years. We are all for updating policy in the name of efficiency and effectiveness, but this is neither for all of us here. We then received a response this past Friday, April 17th at 4 p.m. Staff have advised that the proposed location at the covered bridge along East Front Street in between John Street and Mill Street has created issues with on-street parking violations and traffic flows in the past. We recommend that you consider relocating these events to Station Park at the Heritage Trail by the train station where there is additional parking available. If you choose to proceed with the proposed location at the covered bridge, can you please revise your site plan to clearly indicate the location of additional parking areas noted in your application? It requires a site plan that shows the location of parking areas and or how parking will be managed and controlled during the event, and a traffic control plan and or any measures being taken to mitigate any vehicular or pedestrian traffic disruptions. We finally got a response, but not the one we were hoping for. Seemingly the site plan was insufficient because we simply listed the streets that have known parking available, There are many more parking spaces in the downtown than at the train station, roughly 31 on Mill Street and 24 on West Front Street. There are 13 painted or designated parking spots at the train station, and we would require part of the parking lot for market setup. So the reasoning for parking is illogical. Our requested site of the covered bridge parking lot does not impede traffic flow or pedestrian walkways, as there are no roadway closures. Therefore, no traffic control plan was included in the application. While we have no authority to monitor and control how others drive, park, and walk throughout an open and functioning town, we are always more than happy to work with municipal bylaw enforcement on this, as we have in the past. 2023, we had to move the market to the suggested location of Station Park because of the infrastructure improvements happening on Mill Street. We keep meticulous records of our weekly and yearly attendance totals. We are present almost every week, taking numbers, talking to shoppers, vendors, and business owners, listening to feedback so we can continually make improvements. With this being said, at the Station Park location, we had our lowest attendances of any season to date. It is off the road quite a bit with very little exposure to vehicular traffic. The downtown businesses attempted to stay open, but did not receive the same foot traffic as in previous years. It isn't as walkable or central to town and where people live. It is more exposed to the sun, dust from the trail, and there is nowhere to shelter from the rain. The location didn't promote the beauty of our historic downtown, covered bridge, and beautiful gardens. The vendors weren't happy, shoppers forgot about us, and business experiences no benefit. Market attendance was down 35% that season. This is why that same fall, when we wanted to host the holiday market back in the downtown, we had to bring a delegation to council to explain these reasons, and even had a petition signed from downtown businesses and many local residents in an effort to be able to return the market downtown. In the end, we were able to host a very successful event that year in the covered bridge parking lot, despite the pushback and concerns for the event location itself. The market will not succeed in the same ways in a different location. Our markets are run through the Sterling Rod and BIA, which is a group of local business owners who volunteer to work together to make the area more attractive, welcoming, and successful. Our goal is to support local businesses and help the community grow. We want our town to look like a vibrant place to live and shop for its residents and tourists alike. Having a beautiful central location to host the market is paramount to fulfilling those goals. There are many restaurants, an ice cream stand, theater, bookstore, and many other businesses. It is a reminder to the residents of all the wonderful services, shows, and shops we have available right here in our town through repeated exposure. It lets entrepreneurs know that if they wanted to start a business here in one of our many empty storefronts, that people do live here, visit from out of town, and frequent the downtown core, making it a much more attractive opportunity. As a BIA event, it makes more sense if it impacts the businesses in a meaningful and purposeful way. Volunteering is a huge part of our community. We have dedicated service clubs in the Rotary, Lions, and Legion, volunteers supporting our theater, our churches, our school and sports programs, volunteers who plant flowers and trees, and landscape from the Horticultural Society. Our food bank, our BIA, and even our fire department is mostly volunteer. Our high schools require minimum volunteer hours to be able to graduate. The list goes on and on. It is an entirely selfless force of unpaid labor, raising funds and donating their time and often their own money for the betterment of the community. It is the foundation and underlying fabric that small towns with small budgets rely on. We feel that is being forgotten. When volunteers start spending more and more time fighting through delays, answering repetitious questions, and jumping through the same hoops just to be able to get what they're trying to achieve, it makes it seem less and less worth it in the end. It also takes away precious time that they could be using to plan their events. When we start to lose events, as is already happening, that people look forward to, local makers and small businesses fade away, people are going elsewhere to enjoy the things they once did here. People stop volunteering and contributing, and the entire sense of social purpose and community begins to collapse. We understand there needs to be checks and balances, oversight and safety. We also understand this isn't a high priority item. It's not infrastructure, new developments, but it is meaningful to many people and businesses who live and work here. We feel that if an individual or a group is willing to take something on that benefits its residents and visitors, especially if it's already proven to be safe and successful, it should be met with how can we help and support you, and not how can we make this difficult, frustrating, and costly to the point of giving up completely. Again, we're there almost every week and haven't had anyone complain to us about parking issues. When the market is downtown, many walk or ride. The ones that do drive have plenty of parking spaces on Mill Street and West Front Street. We have signs that direct people to park there, as well as posting designated parking areas on our social media. We understand our bigger harvest and holiday markets can make the town a little congested. We have always placed the utmost attention to public safety, planning, and management. You will never make everyone happy, and that is a fact. A minor inconvenience to a few people for a few hours cannot outweigh all the benefits of what these markets mean for hundreds of people who come from near and far to shop, our businesses, and the vendors. We understand you likely only hear the complaints and don't always hear all the praise and positive feedback that we do. Residents and vendors are always astounded for how well-run, efficient, and organized they are. Business and restaurant owners who may have had a tough year receive a big bump to their bottom line, and the local growers, bakers, and craftspeople are always greatly appreciative of the exposure and sales these markets bring. It's a big motivator to continue planning and executing these events. Let's please not let policy and procedure spoil the sentiment of our volunteers, residents, and businesses, and hopefully work together in a more cooperative way to accomplish our aligned goals. Thank you very much. We're open for questions.
From members of council. Couple of things. As you're aware, we've got some new staff in position, and it is a new policy, and the first time through, every time it's going to present challenges. We're getting there. I think we're very close to it being complete application. There were some missing documents. If we're still waiting to complete this, it's not a denial. You will get your approval. Sorry it took so long, but we're getting through this process.
I just want to understand the process a little bit because it seems like there's no communication. Maybe this is all done by email or something. Like it's just I feel like it was better when it got communicated about and talked about, and then maybe the new people would be able to know what's been happening here for the past 6 years as well, maybe instead of.
There's really that's one of the issues. There was no sort of records kept that we have access to at this point. It's virtually a new process from the current staff.
Okay.
But
I mean, communication between like counselors and staff and even our BIA representative as well.
Hmm.
Just, yeah, I don't know, so.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mullen. So through you to the deputants, we can definitely work on implementing your requests into our process and procedures going forward. And just for clarity, I believe the application is likely now due to complete as of 3/41. So we'll just follow up tomorrow morning. Sure, it's all set to go.
Yep.
Okay. We just don't want to have to come back here again in a few months for the same thing.
Understood.
Okay.
If I may ask, the application is complete for where they're asking to be, not the suggested location.
Correct,
Okay.
for the proposed location.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good. Thank you.
Can I have first to proceed with the delegation? Second or not? Thank you. This time we have public input. Is there anyone who would like to speak to anything on the agenda? Sharon?
So Mayor Mullen, council and staff, Sharon Burfoot. I'd like to speak on item number 8.3 on the agenda, bench and tree policy one-time fee adjustment. The Sterling Rodden BIA submitted an application on February the 27th, 2026 to install benches in the downtown area under bylaw 1589-22 signed the 7th of November, 2022, bench and tree donation policy. Since that time, a new bench and tree donation policy bylaw 27-2026 passed on April the 7th, 2026, has introduced additional costs exceeding $700 per bench, which is now being applied to our original request sent in February. We respectfully request consideration of these charges as the BIA operates as part of the township. Our intention is not to make a memorial style donation, but to contribute essential public amenities that would otherwise fall under municipal responsibility. These benches are intended to enhance the downtown area for residents, visitors, and local business alike. Given that our application was submitted prior to the adoption of the new bylaw, we believe it is reasonable for our project to be assessed under the former bylaw policy. We'd appreciate the opportunity to discuss this matter further and work towards a fair resolution. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Any questions?
But maybe come up for discussion later, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Public input. Right, Karen.
I know, don't give me that look.
Wouldn't do that. And I won't give you my.
And I will behave. What? In the last year or so, there has been a lot of changes, which is understandable. Some good, some bad, and some questionable. I would like to ask about the questionable one. I know the bylaw Bible needs updating on a regular basis, but do they reflect the small town values when writing them? Bob, you were one of the first to set up the BIA in Sterling Rodden, and my present landlord as well, who at the time did not own the building. When did businesses have no say because they don't own the building? Now it's all about landowners, so the name should be changed to Sterling Rodden Landowners Improvement Association. The other change is if a business would like somebody else to represent them, they have to be a paid employee. What is the goal? To shut it down and save the $7,500 to add to the tree removal budget? Volunteers have always been a strong presence in Sterling Rodden. The new policies and paperwork are costing events dearly. We have lost the shenanigans, and now the farmers market seems to be the next target. Why move the market out of the business area? Nate and Jess should be commended for their hard work in the past 7 years, not to file out forms about parking, etc., that could be seen with a short drive around town. Thank you.
Just clarify a couple of things there, Karen. It's always been the owner of the building. And it's up to the landlord or the owner to either bill that back to the tenant or not. That's their choice.
Yeah, but you gotta admit that the rent that I pay, the levy has to be coming out of it. I was talking to you on this. But I know you owned your building, you're on the BIA, but Yolanda didn't. Either did Bonnie Dale or several other people was on the BIA. So how were they sitting for years and then all of a sudden?
As long as they're in a building in town that pays that fee.
But the letters were never given by the landowner. The letters were always given by the business owners.
Heck, I see,
Yeah,
well,
but okay,
the reason I wrote a letter to the council is because everybody knows that I don't have a lot of patience. And not a lot of time on my hands. So that's why I suggested somebody else to represent me.
and that's always been fine.
Yeah, but now you can't.
You can't what?
I can't recommend.
Yes, you can, as long as you
No,
have.
unless she's a paid employee.
And
No.
it has to come from the landowner,
I says right in the thingy, or the email, sorry.
constitution.
Through the chair. The legislation reads that if with determining tenancy, property owners are to establish or submit some sort of notice to the municipality that it identifies who is a tenant, so a business owner in your case, and then that individual is able to nominate somebody, or that company is able to nominate.
Only if she's a paid employee.
No,
No,
It's stated, where's that do thing, or where was that?
That was in the new constitution
Yeah.
being written.
It said paid
I
employee.
can't speak to the new constitution, but I can speak to the legislation, and the legislation means that you can nominate an individual as a tenant.
Without paying me $100,000 to represent me. Okay.
as far as we know, if we can find that paperwork, we'll correct it, protect
I
that.
should have printed it out.
We'll bring it to her, bring it up.
Okay,
Fine.
that's just my viewpoint.
All right. And as far as the downtown location for the farmer's market, that's fine this year. And I won't be on council next year, but I will give you a heads up that next year there'll be considerable construction downtown again.
Now, does that include the harvest market and the holiday market? That's all markets this year? No.
What's the application?
different.
If you're closing the road, that requires another over and
More
above.
paper.
But once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
This is a repeat. Anyone else? Did we answer all your questions? Okay,
I
I'll take that as a win.
I might just get a motion to receive the comments from the audience.
I'll move.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Thanks.
Did you want to stay for the rest of the meeting? Or? Okay. Up to you, okay. 6.1. That the proclamation request from Community Care for South Hastings, CCSH, be received, and further, that council hereby proclaims June 2026 as Stroke and Asphyxia. Thank you. Awareness Month for the Township of Sterling Road. Can I have a mover for that, please?
I'll move. I'll second.
All in favor? And there is a poster that's been provided for that as well, to recognize the signs of stroke. 7.1. Number of minutes here, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 7th be approved as presented. Can I have a
I'll
mover?
move. Second.
All in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the Sterling Rod Public Library Board meeting held on March 18th be received. Can I move for that, please?
I'll move. I'll second.
All in favor? Anything you want to say about that meeting, either John or? Nothing?
That was before March break. I understand that they had a regular March break program.
They
It was
moved it.
well attended, please.
7.3, that the minutes of the joint fire service board meeting held on January 26th be received. Can I move for that, please?
I'll move.
I'll second them.
All in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the medical board meeting held on September 2nd and April 14th be received. Can I move for that, please?
I'll move.
I'll second them.
And there are some recommendations that are approved. All in favor? Carried. And the results, that the staff report published 26067 regarding the tender results, surface treatment be received, and further, the council approves the 2026 surface treatment tender be approved, awarded to Greenwood Paving in the amount of $174,843.50 plus applicable HFT. And mover for that.
I'll move that.
Seconder.
I'll second that.
George, I believe that was, we got on board with another township for that, didn't we, or no?
That was our own.
Have they given us any indications of timing on that?
Well, nobody started that anyway yet, temperature.
Yeah.
And everybody getting roads back in shape, ready for it, so. I would expect though, late June.
All in favor? Thank you. The next one, the staff report, ERE 260770, regarding the establishment of the Springbrook Community Fundraising Reserve be received, and further, that the funds received from the Friends of Springbrook Park Committee for enhancements to the Springbrook Park in the amount of $11,849.76 be placed in reserve for a future project that would benefit the Springbrook community, and further, that prior to any use of these funds, the township engaged feedback from the Springbrook Park Committee member Julie Knobs before any decisions are made. I will move for that, please.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, this is the funds from the finance.
Yeah, we're second. Just on board.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. 8.3. That the staff reports CAO 26069 regarding the bench and tree policy one-time donation fee adjustment for 2026 be received, and further, the council authorize a one-time donation fee adjustment in the amount of $1,800 specifically for the 2026 purchase of Arco benches by the BIA board for a specific type of bench. Can I have a mover for that, please?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
Do you want me to speak to this,
Yes.
Mayor Mullen? Okay, so just a little bit of background on this one. So, yes, the tree and bench policy did get approved and updated at the March 24th council meeting. And at that point, the recommended bench was a Meglin bench with ended up, the cost of it plus installation as well as the ongoing care and maintenance for 5 years under the new policy was $3,500. The business improvement area came back and they wished to install multiple benches and found they sourced other benches and are asking for this one-time exemption to purchase those benches from Barco. So the quote that was received was $1,012 plus HST. The benches were vetted by our manager of public works, and he came back and said that these benches would be similar. There was a limited date that they could be ordered by, and they were end of the line. So that's why the price was so much lower. They are similar in nature. They have the four standing feet, and they can be installed downtown. So the cost for the difference between the price for the bench and includes, so the $1,800 recommended price includes the cost for installation and for 5 years care and maintenance. The policy prior to this, that it didn't actually identify a specific bench. There was no specific indicated price on what those benches would cost, but it did indicate the wording is the same, but instead of saying that there would be the cost for the care of the bench and the installation, there would also be 10 years care and maintenance. 10 years care and maintenance would actually cost more than the $1,800 that is the cost for these particular benches. So it would actually cost the municipality more. The other part of the difference is that these benches do not have, we're not including in that $1,800 a cost for the plaque. So with the main benches that were approved in the policy, the Meglin benches, that cost included the cost for the plaque and the engraving. So that's why the $1,800 is different from actually what the BIA members may have seen on the invoice. But the $1,800 is only for 5 years, not 10 years as was on the previous policy. So we've actually included them under the new policy because it would be less money.
Any questions from council? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. That includes the 5 years care and maintenance. 8.4. 2508 Springbrook Road rental agreement with the Gateway Community Health Center at Gateway Reserve. This is the former municipal building in Springbrook. The staff reports CAO 26-068 regarding the 2508 Springbrook Road rental agreement at Gateway Community Health Center Reserve be received, and further that the township enter into a rental agreement with the former Rawdon Township Municipal Offices located at 2508 Springbrook Road with the Gateway Community Health Center Gateway for storage purposes. And further, that bylaw 31-026 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a rental agreement between the Township of Sterling Rawdon and the Gateway Community Health Center for use of a portion of the former Rawdon Township Hall located at 2508, as listed on this agenda, be approved, and further that the township enter into a memorandum of understanding to hold funds received by the Gateway Community Health Center for future medical location expenses in reserve. Can I have a mover for that, please?
I'll move.
Seconder for that?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one, 8.5. Staff report, clerk 26-5065, regarding the proposed schedule of meetings for 2026 be received, and further that the proposed schedule of meetings for 2026 be approved as presented. Can I move for that, please?
I'll move.
Take your choice. All in favor? Thank you, Gary. Eastern Ontario Trails correspondence, okay. I will do these as a grouping then. That the correspondence information items 9.1 through 9.3 is listed on the agenda be received and move for that, please. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, the first one is a letter from the EOTA regarding the Alto. The second one was just the information regarding the census that's coming up this year in May. And the third one is a letter from the Municipal Engineering Association, and I'll ask George to speak to that.
Yes, so that's a letter that's out that the engineers have written or concerned about is the government is trying to paint everything with one cloth. So all road construction would become under the standards that the Ontario government used for like building 401 or an intersection or that type of infrastructure. So it involves a lot more costs, engineering, record keeping. So for small municipalities, basically you would need more staff to keep up with the record keeping, and the expense would be a lot more. Just kind of long and short of it, and the engineers are agreeing that it's a little carried away for municipalities to be able to afford this.
The province is applying a higher standard to all of us, and it's going to create some major problems. Any questions on that? All in favor? Thank you. We're into bylaws now. So the bylaw 31-2026 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the Township of Sterling Rodden and the Gateway Community Health Center for the use of a portion of the former Rodden Township Municipal Office in Springbrook. Be read and passed on this 21st day of April. And move for that, please.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10.2. The bylaw 32-2026 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 0425 being a bylaw to impose administrative penalties for violations of municipal bylaws, be read and passed on this 21st day of April 2026. And mover for this, please. Seconder.
Go ahead, go ahead.
This is the app penalty system which we have not had in place before. All in favor? Carried. Are there any notices of motions at this time? Okay. Any other new business? Nothing. Confirming bylaw. The bylaw 33-20-2026 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Sterling Rodden at its meeting of April 21st, 2026. Be read and passed on this 21st day. Move for that, please.
I'll move.
Seconder.
Oh, second.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second it.
We're done. Thank you.